Hello Magic players, Barry White here from Magic Untapped. You know, these days, hybrid mana is quite common. We see it in almost every set that comes out for the game of Magic the Gathering anymore. But at some point it had to be introduced, and that time was during Ravnica, City of Guilds, the original set of the original Ravnica block. But did you know that it almost didn't show up there? I'll let Mark Rosewater pick it up from here.
Hybrid mana came about because I was experimenting, and we were playing with color, and I was just trying to find different ways to play with color. And one of the ideas I was very fascinated by was, were there different ways, like, how could we represent, like, when you look at a traditional gold card, it's an and. A red and green gold card is red and green. And I was fascinated by the idea of or. Like, there's probably no greater fan of the color wheel on the planet. I'm a giant fan of the color wheel, and it's been something I've spent a lot of time. And now we have a whole council of colors that I work with that monitor it. It is to me the sort of the core of the game, the foundation of the game. If you go to the heart of Magic, the color pie is that. And so I love the idea of what did or mean. Like, there's a lot of overlap in colors. Like, while colors do different things, there are overlaps in colors. And so the idea was, what if we could tap into that overlap space? And so I came up with this idea, and I adored it. I was really happy with it. And then I started showing it around, and people were like, yeah, so? And I'm like, no, it's not and, it's or. And they're like, okay, so? I'm like, but that's really cool. And I think it wasn't until I started doing designs with it that, like, I think people started to warm up to it. But it was the kind of thing when I showed them in a vacuum, it just seemed more like a weird thing rather than a practical thing. And it's funny, like, years later, like, looking back at Ravnica, like, one of the biggest things Ravnica did was introduce the tool of hybrid mana. Like, hybrid mana has become a very useful tool. We use it in all sorts of places. Especially now with Commander, for example, it's an interesting tool to get commanders to have certain color identity without requiring that card necessarily being, be in decks of all those colors. But we've used it in a lot of different places. It's been a very useful tool for us, and it's been something that just it's what we call deciduous. That any set that needs it can use it, and we actually use it quite a bit. An interesting story about hybrid mana, though, and Ravnica was I had it in originally. And when I handed over the set, it was in the set. But the development team took it out. They thought the set didn't need it, and so they took it out. And so early versions of Time Spiral had hybrid mana in it. I was going to introduce it in Time Spiral because, like, oh, it's crazy, temporal madness. Ooh, even mana's breaking down. So I was going to introduce it in Time Spiral. In fact, it was in early Time Spiral. And then the development team, as they got near the end of it, realized that they were kind of missing something. And so they came back and they go, could we please have hybrid mana back? Could we put the I said, sure. And so they put it back in. So hybrid mana actually was designed for it, but was almost not in the set.
Thank you, Mark, for yet another great story. Always great to hear from you. For Magic Untapped, I'm Barry White.